So then the text reads, and within the ranks of meditators, the lower in degrees of insight are confuted by the higher. So here, now the question is, now how to really distinguish as to which of the philosophical school is superior and the other inferior. So if you are to rank that on the basis of the sutras that they based on, then all of these philosophies, they have their own respective sutras. For example, for Bhashkas, they have their own sutras, sutras to based on, and likewise Chittamatras and Madhyamika school, they all have their respective sutras. So this is not the proper way of validating as to which is superior and the other is inferior. So now the only possibility is by on the basis of
the
rationality.
Superiors are acceptable.
Yes. Which one is acceptable and other not. So that cannot be done by judging whether one has support of a sutra or not. Instead, it must be done on the basis of whether it is supported by a logical reasoning. So on that basis,
acceptable. So come to me something the 다 싫어하면 인도산에 대백해지면 마셔. 싫어하면 인도 강라 gem도여나 다디 아니 괜찮아요 말보다.
So if you are to validate or if you are to consider to the acceptability of these schools simply on the basis of faith, then we see that all these different traditions, all these different schools, they are
not only within Buddhism, but also the entire world religion. See, from the faith viewpoint, everyone brings immense benefit to concerned follower. So we must respect. We can't say this wrong. But then another level, investigation. Then within Buddhism, Buddhist school thought, the Vibhashek, Sudantik, Chittamantra's viewpoint, and within Madhyamika, some Madhyamika sort of view, if we investigate, there is contradiction. So, from the Pranja side,
from the viewpoint of the analysis,
then you see some philosophical viewpoint unacceptable because there is contradiction. So that's Nagarjuna, and particularly Nagarjuna and Kasachuti, Buddhapalita, and also Aryandeva, and Buddhapalita, and Chandrakirti, and Shantadeva also you see did that, analyze. So then even Buddha's own word, through analytical meditation, now this Buddha statement acceptable. This Buddha statement cannot accept literally. Buddha taught that sort of as a teaching for certain people, which more suitable, that view. So like that. So Sajjakali 당연히 chat.
So it is for this reason that the teachings, even the teachings of the Buddha can be classified into two, one which is provisionally acceptable, and the other which is definitive, literally acceptable and the literally unacceptable.
So some text, Chittamantra school of thought, you see, consider the Kasota Ngeveche.
So from some perspective, the teachings given that, which accords with the Chittamatras we point, they are considered as definitive. However, from the point of view of the Madhyamikas, even the teachings given for the Chittamatras, they are interpretable. They are not to be accepted literally. And now, so on the level of the analysis, now on the level of the analysis, we see that the higher schools or the understanding of the same concept the higher schools have would supersede what the lower schools have. This is one thing. And then another way of interpreting the same stanza, which says that the lower degrees of insight are confuted by the higher. So that is in relation to one individual practitioner. With respect to one single individual practitioner, since that the practice or the spiritual realizations is not something that you can achieve within one day, so it needs time. So in time, you see that the practitioner evolves and the practitioner enhances one's spiritual realization. So as one's spiritual realization grows in its quality, then it supersedes the spiritual realization that the same person had earlier.
So that I think everybody can experience that. At the early stage, it's certain things rather difficult to visualize or to think. And even using the certain concept, you say, unless you think seriously, you see, you may not get the concept.
No, very clearly. Very clearly.
Very clearly. But then through familiarization and daily basis, think. Then, without much effort, it automatically. So, for example, the karuna or bodhicitta. At the beginning, difficult to get actual some kind of experience. Then, time passes, continuously effort. Then gradually the feeling becoming stronger. So the late experience of later part can
can override the experiences that you had in earlier stages.
And understanding also is similar. Perhaps Paticca or Shunya. Early, now for example, my own sort of case, when I was in Tibet, although I already have keen interest about Madhyamika philosophy, Madhyamika viewpoint, but then just to sort of say,
just there is admiration in this, that this is good.
Then my age at that time, I think around 20 up to 24, final examination, then come to India as a refugee, then continuously I study and meditation, analytical meditation in this point. Then my age around 30, begin to get some feeling about this Shunya, some feeling. Of course, still not yet sort of fully developed. But then, gradually, I think my age, perhaps around, I think, late 50s and 60s, the concept of Shunya is something living and very familiar. And occasionally, when some problems, I remember that, very helpful. So that immense help to get the feeling of nirvana, salvation. Not through text, but through understanding about Shunya. That brings the idea or conviction, possibility of cessation. Immense help.
Cessation of what?
Cessation of suffering, cessation of ignorance. The ignorance, the subtle level ignorance, the ultimate ignorance. Just the opposite of wisdom. Wisdom which understands Shunya. Just direct opposite that wisdom. That's the ultimate ignorance. Like that. So, and then bodhicitta. to me, the understanding or some awareness about shunya, immense help to develop altruism. So when I receive this Shantadeva's text, I have sort of great admiration about altruism, but also I have the feeling, oh, that's very difficult, that kind of feeling. Then time passes. Eventually, now that infinite altruism we call bodhicitta, now something quite close. As soon as I wake up in morning, immediately remember about altruism. And then some kind of pledge, rest of my day, you see, sort of carry according to that sort of spirit. That spirit. And that immense help. So now, for example, the last year, the later part of the year, almost I think 5-6 months, my program continuously, no 1 week rest, continuously, but no feeling of tiredness. So mainly, mentally, my body, speech, mind, totally dedicated well-being of sentient being, infinite sentient being. So then, every day, after the evening, I have the feeling, oh, I fulfill my body and speech. Body, of course, not labor, having other, but give smile. So people get at least for temporary sort of kind of joy. Then speech, talk, at least is some help. Then my motivation, totally dedicated well-being of other. So then, day pass, I feel fulfilled. So that really helps, you see, to keep freshness and purposeful life. So blood pressure, no problem of blood pressure, no problem of stress. Like that. So that's my own experience. So you all, everyone, have the same potential. So if you make effort, you get that. So don't think, oh, Dalai Lama is something very special because reincarnation of generosity is nonsense, wrong. We are same human being. So have sort of conviction. We are same. Why not? If Dalai Lama get that kind of sort of certain sort of mental peace, then why not we can? Right? That must be. I think that's for me. I think the good way to teach. If God remained there, then give us some kind of instruction. We just, as a creature, and look at. From Buddhist viewpoint, I'm Buddhist. For me, not good, but for millions of other people, concept of creator is immense benefit. Very good. So I always respect them. I always admire them. But as far as my own practice is concerned, Buddhist teaching is much more encouraging. I also have the Buddha seed. If I try, I become Buddha. So same level. What do you think? So we should, I think the concept of Buddha nature, Tathagata Shindaya, Sugata Shindaya, Tathagata Garva, I think, Tathagata Garva, Sugata Shindaya, I think 2 words. So these concepts, I think, immense benefit, particularly when those people who demoralize, discourage, and mental state hopelessness must think these things. And also think eons. Some tantric sort of teaching says within 3 years you can become Buddha. So that gives us false hope. Not good. Think eons. Then real determination develop. No matter what the difficulties, what obstacles, it doesn't matter 100 years. Then take next life. Go that way, eons. That really source of inner strength, isn't it? And dedicate one's life for well-being of others, sincerely. Then, day passes, you get the feeling of fulfillment. So my favorite sort of prayer, so long space remain, so long sentient beings suffering remain, I will remain in order to serve. This Shantadeva's in the book, he mentioned that. Wonderful. That's that source of sort of strength. Isn't it? Marve, what do you think, Professor? What do you think?
I think it's excellent. We're going to try to be like you. What makes it hard to get up at 4 in the morning?
Karsa? Lifestyle is different, of course, different. But mental level, I think we all can be same practice. I think we can do. Next, then now I forget what is the main subject. Oh yes. Nurse. Therefore, Buddha himself, stated, "O my follower, should not accept my teaching out of devotion, out of faith, but rather through investigation and through experiment." So this, I think, very scientific way, isn't it? I think. So around, I think, 25 years ago, when I developed or desire dialogue with modern scientists, some my American friend, a Buddhist, so some gave me warning, science is killer of religion, so be careful, contact with scientists. Then I thought, oh, the Nalanda tradition, Sanskrit tradition, the investigation is more important than just relying on Buddha's own word. So no problem. So for me, many Tibetan, of course, always offer mandala. So I do not believe the Mount Meru, these things. Still, I'm Buddhist. I do not accept these sort of mandala, Mount Meru and some different these things. I do not believe that. Maybe some other planet, maybe, but at least on our planet, it does not exist. So some, for example, Abhidhamma-korsha, the Basubandh, so I think, really, try to explain very detailed how many miles, but these are useless. And at one time, I joked, one great Tibetan scholar, the Basubandh in Abhidhamma-korsha Karika, the size of moon and sun, except
Except he mentioned that the difference in size between the sun and the moon is just half a yojana. Half a yojana is very small.
So then I jokingly told that he's a scholar. Perhaps the Basubandh, his naked eye, try to look size of the moon and the sun. And he felt, sun little bigger than moon. So he described passing of the chest.
So then on the basis of this, so His Holiness jokingly shares this with other people, that it is on this basis of his observation through his naked eyes of the size of the sun and moon that he described the difference in size as just half a yojana instead of the reality.
So these are really nonsense now. There's no problem. These are nothing to do with teaching of Four Noble Truth. The teaching of Four Noble Truth is very, very realistic. Now, in order to know the later part of Two Truth, cessation, there now concept of shunyata is very, very important. So the first teaching, Buddha's Dhamma Wheel, taught Four Noble Truths. In order to know the Four Noble Truths fully, the second Dhamma Wheel, Panchaparamita Sutra, very necessary. The Panchaparamita Sutra explains about shunyata, about subtle way of interdependency, Pachittasamuppada. Then third Dhamma Wheel, Buddha stated about our nature of our mind. Then further explanation that in Guhi Samadha Tantra, make kasota distinction, grosser level of mind, subtle mind. So study is very, very important. Just to pick up one text and read and full knowledge about that is not sufficient. We must read all these different sort of text and study different sort of school of thought. Immense benefit. About the Pachittasamuppada, we must know the concept or interpretation of Chittamatra. Then we will know, we get better knowledge about the Madhyamika's view. And within Madhyamika, Prasankika and the Sudantik, they are debate. So when we study seriously about these debate, then you can get the deeper sort of understanding about the Prasankika view. So therefore, the Prasankika, the Chandakirti's Umatsiksel Khasa, Umatsiksel Mingdi. Umatsiksel. What was Sanskrit word? Oh, that, you see, that text available in Tibetan translation, not available in Chinese. So, because not available in Chinese, so no translation in Japanese or Vietnamese like that, or Korean. So I sort of suggested some of my Chinese friend, as well as some Japanese. Eventually, and we already thinking or mentally some kind of vision, making plan, translation. The Sanskrit available, so Sanskrit, original Sanskrit text there. Then very good translation in Tibetan there. So much easier to translate into Chinese. I think English already there or not?
English in different pieces.
Different pieces, no?
French, German, English.
So that text is very, very essential. Then that made a very clear distinction. Prasankika, or another word, I think the Vabhabika's view about Madhyamika and Chandakirti's view or Buddha Palita. Very clear. Unless we study that, maybe confusion like that. So it is, I think those ancient translators, Tibetan translators, are really great. And that all these things due to Shantarakshita from Nalanda. He personally, you see, invited to Tibet. Shantarakshita, great master mathematical philosophy, and also great logician. All his writing, he always used logic. The
Yes. Always used logic and reasoning to establish the point.
So we, as his student, I always proudly to state, we are a holder of pure lineage of Nalanda tradition. So we very much emphasize the using logic.